The 10-year strategic roadmap of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, Ncdmb, was initiated in 2017. It targets the retention of over $14 billion out of $20 billion estimated industry spend, creation of over 300,000 jobs, and growing Nigerian content to 70% by 2027. Hello and welcome to the Local Content Television Program. I am Priyavaka, and I'm glad to have you join us. This bit is on the 10-year roadmap of the Ncdmb and the programs already in motion to achieve its objectives, in line with the provisions of the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act. Don't go away.
Consolidating on the gains made since 2010, the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, Ncdmb, in 2017 developed a 10-year strategic roadmap aimed at increasing local content performance to 70% in the year 2027. The key rewards from the implementation of this 10-year roadmap are the creation of 300,000 jobs from industry activities and the retention of $14 billion in-country output of the $20 billion annual industry spend.
To a large extent, I would say we have made substantial progress in terms of where we want to take Nigerian content to. When the Act was enacted in 2010, the local content percentage in the oil and gas sector was just below 5%. So within 10 years, we've been able to raise it from below 5% to 30%. So it's a huge movement in terms of progress. Our aim is that in 2017, we then set a very clear target on where we want to be in the next 10 years. And we believe that in the year 2027, we will achieve 70% local content.
Our 10-year strategic roadmap is going very well. In fact, we divided into three parts. So we have the short term, medium term, and the long term. The short term, basically 2 years. When we started early in 2018, we finalized the document in 2017 and launched it in early 2018. So the short term ended in the end of 2019, and we felt that there's a need for us to do a review of where we are. The ones that are medium term are up to 5 years, and then of course the long term 10 years. So after doing the short term, our take is that there's a need for us to sort of review where we are with respect to the performance. And so far so good. The roadmap has enabled us to sort of focus on what are the big ticket items that the board needs to sort of deal with respect to our target to achieve 70% by 2027. Even during the checkpoint review, it became apparent that we were able to even start some of the medium-term initiatives. We've already taken them on board, and we're progressing very well.
The roadmap hinged its plans on 5 strategic pillars and underpinned by 4 enablers, each of which address key focus areas for development of Nigerian content. The pillars are technical capability development, compliance and enforcement, enabling business environment, organizational capability, and sectorial and regional market linkage. While the enablers include funding, regulatory environment, collaboration and stakeholder engagement, and research and development.
So we have the pillars, 5 pillars, 4 enablers. Each pillar has enabler initiative supporting them. And the way we've sort of run it to make sure that it's not just some fancy roadmap is to ensure that for each pillar you have initiative backing them. Those initiatives are mapped to DDDs. The DDDs, by DDDs I mean the directorates, divisions, and the departments within the board, the various teams essentially. So those teams, they now take those initiatives and turn into a scorecard. From the scorecard, they now turn it to individual tasks and targets, so that you now find a situation in which any staff of the board, for your yearly task and target is tied to our roadmap, so that anything you do, there's an end game with respect to your contribution to the 70% goal.
On the technical capability pillar is the actualization of the board's oil and gas parks from paper to concrete in 2 pilot locations, Odukpani in Cross River and MEL1 in Ogbia local government area of Bayelsa State, for the manufacturing of critical oil and gas equipment, tools and spare parts.
We have planned to do others in other states, but because of resources and the need to make sure that we deliver, we don't want to start all over the place. So currently 2 of them are at the forefront, the one in Bayelsa State and the one in Cross River State. As we speak, we are at the construction stage for that one, in which the admin building, capacity building, hostel, mini estate, and security gate, those are ongoing projects that we are doing. Recently, the Federal Executive Council, FEC, also approved a contract for us to start the manufacturing side. In addition to that, as we speak, the internal roads is also under construction. The concept basically is that we would like to have in place a park in which any investor or manufacturer can just come in, plug and play. So you have power already provided, water already provided, fire service already provided, and any other utility or infrastructure you require as a manufacturer, so that you have less issues to deal with before you can start up your facility.
The Project 100 initiative sponsoring the growth of 100 indigenous oil and gas companies to international standards.
The successful implementation of Project 100 SDP portends significant opportunity for deepening Nigerian content development and impacting the wider economy. And what is the cardinal objective of this? First is about job creation, growth in number of skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled labor required by beneficiaries to respond to increased operations. We also look at increasing retention of industry spend. We all know what it used to be before the advent of local content, how much money was being spent in the country. Before 2010, we barely had less than 5% of the entire industry spend, which is put at $21 billion year on year. Less than 5% remained in the country. So the idea is, how can we help through this Project 100 to increase the retention currently? We've moved the needle. Today, we make bold to say about 7 billion of that is being retained in country. There is still a huge chunk of capital flight that we see in our oil and gas operation. The other bit is about competitive substitution of imports. Rather than the continuous importation of goods and services, how can we ensure those are produced locally? And most importantly, to drive industrialization opportunities.
With the introduction of the local content law in 2010, before then it was really difficult for local players like us to participate. And the Local Content Act in 2010 enabled a lot of us to participate. Now, this was one step of the puzzle, giving us the opportunity to participate. Now we can participate, but there's another level, which was developing our capacity to deliver. Now, it's one thing to say all the land locations and the swamp locations belong to indigenous players, but if we do not have the capacity to deliver, or the opportunity to be able to identify people that will collaborate with us, we might not be able to fully tap into this opportunity that has been given to us by the local content. So it was with joy when I saw the application for the Project 100 opportunity.
We want to thank Ncdmb. We want to thank the board for this initiative. For a lot of us, and especially for us as a company, Brown Positioning and Survey Limited, we started at a time when there was no local content. And at that time, you couldn't get a contract if you didn't have a foreign technical partner. And so we had to go and incorporate companies outside the country, and we began to build capacity from outside until Ncdmb became a reality. And for this, I just want to say a big thank you to the board. Over the years, we have seen Ncdmb evolve into a major defender of the Nigerian business, especially those of us in the oil and gas sector. I just want to say we have seen a demonstration of seriousness, a demonstration of commitment, reliability, and dependability. We just want to thank you very, very much for this initiative and what it means for us who are beneficiaries of this laudable scheme.
I want to appreciate and congratulate Ncdmb for this project, Project 100. It is an initiative that everybody would love to see it succeed. And it is our prayer in the Ministry of Petroleum Resources that this project will succeed. I want, on behalf of the Honorable Minister and the entire management of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, to assure you of our support.
Capacity building in maritime by providing international certification program and sea time training for cadets.
In the Nigerian oil and gas industry, we have over 1,400 Nigerian vessel owners in different categories. You need cadets, you need officers to run those vessels, to ensure that you have a high level of domiciliation in country. You need to use your own personnel to run those vessels. Now, some years ago, NIMASA, our sister agency, trained over 2,000 cadets in foreign universities. But these people did not have the opportunity of embarking on their seabed time. That's learning on board international ships on international waters. So the executive secretary, is a good innovator and someone that is a key driver of local content. So he met with the leaders of NIMASA and he agreed to step into that space. And to do that, it's quite expensive to have people do the mandatory 1-year seabed time. But with the guidance of the executive secretary and the board, we were able to get an international ship owner to agree to put Nigerians on board. We put 20 in the first round. And we said we would do the next 40. Ultimately, if we're able to do 100, I think that would be a good number, to say that we've supported the industry with 100 cadets.
Equity investment to catalyze several oil and gas related projects. On the second pillar, compliance and enforcement, the board deployed chartered accounting firms to carry out forensic audit of the Nigerian Content Development Fund remittances.
When the Executive Secretary, Engineer Simbi Wabote, was appointed in 2016, one of the major initiatives he brought was to carry on a forensic audit of the industry with regard to the Nigerian Content Development Fund remittances. One thing thrown up by the forensic audit is that the operations of the Ncdmb does not recognize sacred cows. All operators, all service companies were involved in the forensic audit. We audited every operator and every service company. So in all, more than 400 companies were covered with regard to the audit. And then we entered into reconciliation because they disputed some of them. The reconciliation established some parameters, the undisputed items, and then the disputed items. And they, of course, they were instructed and they remitted the undisputed. And then the reconciliation, which is still ongoing, some have been concluded. The outcome of the reconciliation, they remitted the rest.
On the pillar for enabling business environment, Ncdmb signed service-level agreements with oil and gas operators and service companies that has helped to shorten the Ncdmb's interface on the tendering cycle in the oil and gas industry from 36 months to 9 months.
One of the complaints we have in the industry generally, not with the local content, but the processes we put in place, we look at about 36 to 48 months to put a contract in place. And we had to do a kind of some SWOT analysis to see what are some of the things we can easily get a quick win. We are the first government agency in Nigeria. Go and check to sign an SLA as a regulator, to sign as SLA with the people you are regulating by saying, if you send us a document or you request for an approval and it stays for X number of days and you don't hear from us, it means in principles, take it as an approval and you continue.
On funding enabler, the Ncdmb initiated the Nigerian Content Intervention Fund, NCIF, as part of efforts to provide accessible credit for Nigerian oil and gas service companies and community contractors at a single-digit interest rate.
One of the key primary lessons learned from the operation of the NCIF fund, I would rather say post-2017, has been the fact that we've been able to use a funding enabler, which is part of our strategic initiative in our 10-year strategic plan, to be able to provide cheap funding as well as make it easy to access this fund, for industry, oil and gas industry players. And the reception has been quite good from the industry players. The fund has been made available to them. Most of them have applied this fund successfully and have come back to us and then given us a good report on how these funds have been able to help them achieve their own objective, as well as the board, because part of our 10-year strategic plan is by 2027 is to grow Nigerian content to about 70%, as well as create 300,000 jobs, direct jobs in the industry. And that has been a very targeted goal of the board. And I think the lessons learned are quite enormous as a result of that.
The provision of a $50 million research and development fund, creation of research and development fair, the Nigerian Oil and Gas Technology Hackathon, and the Science and Technology Innovation Challenge are under the research and development enabler.
We try to bring to bear what we have developed over time, the research and development guideline and the 10-year R&D plan, which is a product of or a byproduct of the board's overall 10-year strategic roadmap. So we have been able to identify some pillars and some enablers to be able to pursue our own 10-year R&D roadmap. But the key issue, the key issue that is of interest to us in regulating R&D in the oil and gas industry is to ensure that whatever R&D product that comes out to be viable, economically viable, should be commercialized, following all the necessary steps that have been laid out by the board. So you don't just do R&D just for the sake of doing R&D. You do it and you have this hope that you'll be able to make some money out of it. And of course, your product will be utilized in the industry. So we try to do that, and we have a number of such activities going on.
For us in Ncdmb, what we did was to provide that leadership in terms of demonstrating that as a development agency, we can also provide that lever in terms of initiating the process of dedicating a particular fund for R&D. Now, in terms of the utilization, we've looked at 4 perspectives: supporting research, basic research, and also applied research. So we're going to support that. We're also going to support professorial chairs. We're going to endow chairs dedicated to specific issues in the oil and gas sector and also in the other sectors of the economy. It's also going to be used to establish centers of excellence because we believe that without the right center, you cannot be talking about quality research. The fund will also be used for commercialization, and that's the bulk of the R&D fund. So 60% of that fund will be dedicated to supporting patents, prototype development. We're also going to support business development, which is developing the business case. Then, of course, the area of product acceptance requires a lot of certifications, the product certification, the facility certification, and then also the process certification. So that is part of what we're also going to support with the R&D fund.
The future of the oil industry is dependent on information and computer-based technologies. Yeah. So if that is the way the world is going, we need to develop that capacity in country. We need to encourage our people to innovate around technology. There are real-life problems. Hackathon is a universal language. People meeting, programmers sitting down together to find digital solutions to problems faced in country. So what we wanted to do was to give opportunity to our coders, because digital coding is the way to go, yeah? To also contribute to the industry. Some of them have ideas. I mean, from when we started the call for hackathon till today, we have about 1,000 entries, quality entries, which we'll start to judge today, and encourage these guys to be able to, launch that, fine-tune it, refine it, incubate it, and take the solutions to the market, solve real-life problem in the industry. So the board cannot deliver local content without local manufacturing or local development of technology. This one is really to stimulate that technology development in country.
In trying to continue as a chief executive, you cannot, if you have started planning and you have told yourself, this is where I want to take this organization to in the next 10 years. Yes, you might not be there for the next 10 years to achieve it, but it is a plan within the organization. And the hope is that whoever comes after you will key into that strategic roadmap. So for us is to ensure that we implement the 10-year strategic roadmap of the board. So nothing, you don't want to add anything else, but to refine a strategic roadmap in order to achieve the overall objective of taking Nigerian content to 70% at the year 2027.
Moving at this pace and with all the innovative initiatives, the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, Ncdmb, might hit its target of 70% local content earlier than projected, as indicated in the 10-year strategic roadmap.
And that's it from us this week. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, the ideal local content penetration is not a sprint, but a marathon that requires focus and determination to ensure its implementation. COVID-19 is still very much with us. Do not let your guards down. So wash or sanitize your hands regularly, wear a face mask, and maintain social distancing in public places. Until next week, I am Priya Barker.